charge, slash and burn, return. Listen to yourself churn. Locking in, uniform and book burning, blood letting every motive escalate. Automotive incinerate, light a candle, light a motor, step down, watching heel crush, uh-oh, this means no fear. Cavalier, renegade, steering clear. A tournament of lies. Offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. Drifted by mountain, sit in a line. Leonard Bernstein, Leonard Brezhnev, Lenny Bruce and Lester Banks, birthday party, cheesecake, jelly bean, boom, symbiotic, patriotic, slam button, that right, right. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine.
Hello and welcome, Doomers, to Music for the End of the World, here on 93.7 Edge FM in the lovely Bega Valley. I'm Chris and I'm joined tonight, as usual now I think we should say, babe, by Cass. Evening, babe.
Evening, everyone.
And we're going to touch on a few things that have been going on in the past week. Lots of things over in America, if you've been watching the news. And then going to talk a little bit about, I want to discuss this article by Alan Urban. He's from the website Medium. And it's called The Profound Loneliness of Being Collapse Aware. Mm-hmm. And I think it may strike some chords with those of you who realise the reality that we're living in. And of course we're playing some cool music. Music-wise, what have we got, Cass? What have we got? We got, you wanted Bill Withers. So we've got a
little
Bill
bit of
Withers.
sunshine.
A little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, for the day.
A lot of the songs I got on tonight are fairly long songs, some of them. I've got the Avena. We've got a new guy I haven't heard before, Role Model. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't heard of Role
No.
Model. Nope, it's a newbie.
That's a newbie. Someone, Belly told me about that one. I've included Role Model. And maybe some Malcolm McLaren. Maybe...
Oldies but goodies, Malcolm McLaren.
Yes, it is an oldie. There are quite a few oldies in there. And of course the gimmies. We always play the gimmies. And we'll see. We'll see how we go. I don't think we'll be able to play all the music we have planned. Right, collapse-wise, what's been going on? Well, a few different things. Maybe you've been reading about the Arctic sea ice. heard about the area or the extent of it diminishing. Do you know the difference between this Arctic sea ice and the Arctic ice area and ice extent?
No, I did see there was an article, but I didn't read the full thing. So
Yeah, it's an article from the Arctic News. Extent is the region with at least 15% sea ice cover. So it can include holes or cracks in the sea ice. It can include melt ponds on top of the ice, which all have a darker colour than regular sea ice. But sea ice area is the total region covered by ice alone, just ice. So sea ice area is critical in measuring the Arctic in regards to the albedo effect. And you asked me about that the other day.
I did.
And that is
New
the
one.
ability of the Earth's surface to reflect back light, reflect back heat, energy. Of course, the lighter colours reflect back more, the darker colours absorb it. So when you have the sea ice area diminishing, that means there's less and less
area to
of the
reflect back.
reflective surface. And so it becomes a, what do they call it, a loop, a feedback loop. As it gets hotter, more ice melts, less ice reflects the energy back, which
More
means
ice
it keeps
melts.
getting hotter, which means more ice melts, and so on. But there's lots of other things. I mean, it's not just the Arctic. It's the the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridian Current that takes the cold water from the Arctic, which now it's not so colder, and the warm water up there to cool it. So there's
Yeah, but I think there's stuff on the news. There were reports on the news today where they're talking about the krill, like the numbers of krill and the
yes,
impact then obviously on whales and all sorts of other
which is
marine
basically the
creatures
bottom rung of the web of life, isn't it? Of the ladder, the krill. That's what everything feeds on. That as you go up to the higher apex predators, the krill is that's the basic building block for life in the oceans. So that's been going on. Also, 2024 was the hottest year on record, which followed 2023, which was the hottest year on record up until 2024.
closely followed by 2025.
Well,
What's they saying at the figures for that?
I reckon. Well, a lot of scientists were saying no, it won't be hotter than last year this year because of the El Nino and the El Nino or La Nina or whatever, those different processes that happen. But this comes from the New Scientist magazine. January 2025 set a surprise record as the hottest ever start to a year. So hotter than last year. It was the hottest January on record at 1.75 degrees Celsius above the baseline of 1850 to 1900 average, which is what they all measure this 1.5 on. Beating the previous record set a year earlier, which was last year. So this year was expected to have marginally cooler temperatures thanks to the emergence of La Nina. La Nina, climate pattern in the Pacific Ocean. But it's not happening at the moment. So it's getting hotter, people. And actually today was pretty hot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was hot. And then I've seen all those big storms in Canberra
Yeah.
today. Like lots of hail, lots of craziness. So saying they've
Yeah.
gone from really hot temperatures now to these really devastating thunderstorms and hailstorms and damaging winds.
Yeah. And I read an interesting article from George Zacharias. He's got a website talking about how a written metaphor of Earth as a bank that finances humanity. Like the value of the trees, the food, the oxygen, it's stayed pretty much the same for millions of years, priceless but renewable. It was an immortal economy, he says, built to last until the end of time, founded on the concept of sharing and recycling, as opposed to what we have now with our capitalist system of greed and destruction. Dig it up, chop it down. And then, of course, we have Orange Man over there in the States who is completely gutting any sort of semblance, not that they were doing much in America, but any sort of semblance to environmental controls.
Yeah, we're making climate change a forbidden term. Like
That's right. You are not allowed to mention climate change on any government website. Even the Environmental Protection Agency, you're not allowed to mention climate change. Because it's not real. Just listen to Don. It's not real. Drill, baby, drill. That was his famous quote. Trump has said. He's promised to cut energy and electricity prices in half within 18 months. But he's launched a blitzkrieg against renewable energy. So they've suspended all clean energy development except for oil and gas on federal land. And then he's declared the energy emergency, so we need to bolster crude oil, natural gas, lesser condensates, natural gas liquids, refined petroleum, etc., uranium, coal, but not solar or wind or other clean energy. Don't need that. Yeah, Trump has said, I read this, he would like to see good clean coal used. Because you can get rid of that clean coal, clean coal as opposed to that black coal which you burn.
Dirty coal that causes
the
all
good
the
clean coal. Yeah, that's right. We don't want windmills in this country, he recently told a Fox News interviewer. The wind blows and it doesn't blow. Things cost a fortune. They're made in China and they kill birds. So he does worry about the birds. Yeah, so... and then, of course, you got the US aid agency, which is being gutted.
Yeah, that's right. Everything put on hold at the moment.
Yeah.
Massive.
So I'm sure China will be overjoyed at that. Where America leaves, China pops in. And, of course, they've got the Musk man taking over. Apparently he's plugged in his servers into his own hard drives into the government servers, and with his bunch of... They mention the names of these guys that are working for him. They're all teenagers or early 20s. I think one's still in college. They're just out of college, one's in college. And they plug their own computers into the system. My gosh.
Yeah.
I know. Insane in the membrane.
Upside down, inside out.
Yes. And these are the guys that the coalition look up to. So if you want to go down that path, people, just vote the coalition in. Vote good old Pete. He'll gut everything. Put the billionaires in charge. All right, a song. And I think we're going to play that song by Role Model, which is called Scumbag. So here's a new one for you, Cass. Scumbag by Role Model.
I'm a scumbag, I'm a setback, I'm a stain on the kitchen floor. I'm a train wreck, I'm a cigarette, I'm the side that no one's rooting for. But you stand by me. Yeah, you stand by me. Hey, I am not your savior. I'm hardly a man. You say I'm your favorite. Well, I don't understand. No, I don't. I'm a scumbag, I'm a setback, I'm a stain on the kitchen floor. I'm a train wreck, I'm a cigarette, I'm the side that no one's rooting for. But you stand by me. Yeah, yeah, you stand by me. Well, your parents separated, got sent to therapy. Hey, leave it alone and never look on back. You could dance all night, kick me out your life, find a brand new guy and just forget what we had. You could walk on home, take me out your phone. You could leave it alone and never look on back. You could dance all night, kick me out your life, find a brand new guy and just forget what we had. But you stand by me. Yeah, you stand by me. Oh, I'm a scumbag, I'm a scumbag. Stand by me. Wait, stand by me. I'm a setback, stand by me. Wait, stand by me. I'm a train wreck, stand by me. Wait, stand by me. Wait, stand by me.
Yes, Scumbag by Role Model. He's pretty good, I reckon, Cass.
Yeah, new one too. I mean,
New
it's
one.
obviously reasonably contemporary.
Yes, quite contemporary, I think. Well, Belly told me about it, so she's up with the contemporary music. I'll have to play some more of his, I think, next week. Terrific. I think it's quickly time for some announcements from our sponsors.
Tathra Tyres and Auto have been servicing motor vehicles in Tathra since 1993. Ron, Paddy and Matt are proud supporters of Bega's community radio station 93.7 Edge FM.
You might be familiar with Coastal Country Sheds and Garages, but now you'll notice the name has changed to Fair Dinkum Builds Bega Valley. A little change that goes a long way for our customers. We'll always be your local experts when it comes to building commercial premises with flexible builds, quality material and great service. And we're stepping things up even further. For you, for keeps. Search Fair Dinkum Builds today or drop by and see us at 3 West Street, North Bega.
Fair Dinkum Builds Bega Valley is the long-time sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you very much, sponsors. Before we get on to being collapse aware, I just wanted to... This is another article by George Zachlarides, and I hadn't sort of thought about it this way, about our predicament, but he's writing that with a brain no longer fit for a world of scarcity, humans meet the definition of an evolutionary dead end, which is a species unable to adapt. Because extinction events occur when the environmental conditions change too rapidly for organisms to develop evolutionary adaptations. You know about evolution, how mutations happen slowly over many generations, hundreds and thousands of years. This is precisely what is happening to humans. Runaway climate change is altering the Earth too fast for us to develop both the physical and mental skills needed for this crisis. Selecting and eliminating mutations, the process of evolution takes countless generations and hundreds of thousands of years. And humans, and this goes for all species, are only as good as their previous working version, which for us belongs in a cooler, more abundant, more stable Earth. So along with the changing climate, we're faced with multiple game-ending overshoot endpoints: overpopulation, water scarcity, pollution, annihilation of the food web, artificial intelligence. The human mind resides in an overshoot cognitive bubble, so much so that it is unable to recognise and accept both the concept of overshoot as well as its repercussions. We haven't known any way of existing other than through overshoot since the beginning of our existence, which makes it extremely unlikely that we ever will. Most preventative actions should have already been implemented hundreds of years ago. And maybe some solutions could have been taken place in just the last few decades, but they haven't. And unfortunately, it's not just humans, it's most species haven't got the time to adapt to such a quick changing environment. Because of the exponential curve, it's all happening quicker. So, yes, not good for most species, unfortunately. All right, you're listening to 93.7 Edge FM. This is Music for the End of the World. And tonight we're Doomers. We're talking about the profound loneliness of being collapse aware, which we will start talking about. It's actually an article by Alan Urban from the Medium website. And if you haven't heard of the Medium website before, I'd recommend you to take a look there. He's got lots of great articles. This is just one of his latest ones. But first, another song. And it's it's a great song, I think originally by Glory Box. Who originally did Glory Box, babe?
My brain is blank on
No,
the
I
word,
can't
but
remember.
it
Anyway,
is-
it's not the Avena and John Martin, but this version of Glory Box, I think, is my favourite. So this is the Avena with John Martin and their version of Glory Box.
I'm tired of playing with this bow and this arrogant. I'm gonna get my heart away, leave it to the other boys out there to play. Been tempted too long, gone. Give me a reason to love you. Different frame of mind. 1,000 flowers may bloom, but it be time to move over, give me some room. Give me a reason to love you. Give me a reason to want to be on me. Start looking like some woman. Take a little look from the outside if you can. Rubber me now, my little gentleman. Little sugar, I wouldn't get on the fire. Give me a reason to love you. Give me a reason to want to be on me. Give me a reason to love you. Oh, please, give me a reason. This is the beginning of forever. Ever, 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 ever. Oh.
Oh, what a great version, don't you think, babe?
Love that. Love John Martin. Bit of a sad, tragic life, but
Did he?
yeah, I think he had a lot of problems with alcohol and I think his breakup with his family and
As a lot of great creative geniuses do. And it is Portishead. I remember just as I put the song on. Portishead did the original
You
Rory
are
Box.
correct.
Yes.
How can we forget?
But I really, really like that version. You're listening to 93.7 Edge FM here in the Bega Valley. And this is Music for the End of the World, where we are talking about being collapse aware. And this is an article, I'm just going to be reading a little bit from it, from Alan Urban, from the website Medium. And he's titled it, The Profound Loneliness of Being Collapse Aware. And he writes, is something wrong, James asked. I blinked at him. What? Oh, I don't know, you just seem quiet today. No, I'm fine. It's just that we're all going to die a miserable death in the near future, but other than that, I'm pretty good. Of course I didn't say those words out loud. What would be the point? James and I have been friends for over a decade. But a few years back, I ended up living in a town about an hour away from him. But we've still been up about once a month to eat lunch and play disc golf. We just reached the 18th basket. James said, your turn. Oh, right. I threw my disc. It was a terrible throw, straight into the bushes. Man, you're having an off day. More like an off year, I said with a chuckle. This was in November 2020, and everybody was thinking about COVID-19 and wondering when things would get back to normal. But not me. I knew things would never get back to normal, that the world I grew up in was gone and that it was all downhill from here. 2020 was the year that I became collapse aware. Now, all the people who understand our reality would understand what being collapse aware is, but if you are still taking the hopium and not sure, not understanding the reality of our situation, collapse aware is when someone has learned enough about climate change, fossil fuels, pollution, biodiversity, resource depletion to realise that modern civilization as it functions now is unsustainable and will eventually collapse into chaos, as all great civilizations do. When did you become collapse aware, Cass?
Well, I think it's interesting when you say that article was 2020 because I think it was around
No, this is a recent article, but he was saying
when he said he became
yes,
aware.
he became collapse aware in
I
2020.
think it was around 2020
With COVID.
that inklings of it, and that was through reading that article.
Well, I told you about Catherine Ingram's
Catherine
essay
Ingram.
on extinction.
And I think that was sort of maybe the beginnings of thinking about it. And I suppose it's been a process since there of assimilating, processing, thinking about it a little bit more.
Yeah, 2019, I think, was when I first read that article that you passed on to me from a friend. You hadn't read it, and you just passed on, oh, look, this is an interesting article. He tells me it's an interesting article, you should read it. And it was Catherine Ingram's essay on extinction, which, unfortunately, she took down from her website.
Very sad.
Yeah, very sad, because it was so eloquently put how our whole situation
really
and predicament.
Explained and
It was really, and it
such
covered
a
everything, and it
thing.
was just, she was a great writer, but she's taken it down, citing that the changes are happening too quick now for her to keep updating it, particularly in transhumanism and AI leaps and bounds. It's too much. But yeah, 2019 was when I became sort of collapse aware. Now, Alan, he goes on to say that there are some collapse aware people who think our civilization has several decades left. And there are some who think it will all be coming crashing down in the next year or two. At the time, I believe we had several decades, he writes. But I was still terrified. After searching the bushes for a few minutes for my disc, I found my disc and threw it again, and we soon finished our game and headed to a restaurant where we ordered lunch. Have you seen how bad the wildfires in California have gotten, I asked, as we waited for the food. I know, he said. It's crazy. This drought just keeps getting worse and worse. I nodded. California grows a lot of food. What happens when there's not enough water for the crops? And he shrugged. I don't know, I guess I'll have to grow food somewhere else. Yes, but what if there is nowhere else, I said. There are droughts happening all around the world. What happens when we can't grow enough food for everybody? They'll figure something out, he said. They could desalinate ocean water, and they could build indoor hydroponic farms. There's always going to be demand for food, so they'll find a way to grow it. I wasn't reassured. Yes, but those things take a lot of energy. What happens when the world starts running out of oil? Well, they'll just build more solar panels and windmills, he said. But what if they can't, I asked? We need oil to build those, but we're already drilling for oil as fast as possible. And what if there aren't enough rare earth materials to build the renewables we need? Which we know that there aren't, though. How are we supposed to replace our entire energy infrastructure with renewables and grow enough food for everybody? How are we going to? I realised that my voice had grown frantic, so I stopped talking. James just stared at me like I just told him that I was planning a trip to Mars. I've had that experience talking to people, I must say. Once the waiter had left, James said, "You're right. It is bad, really bad. But people will find a way. They always do, and I've heard that many times too." I nodded. Hey, did you hear what Trump said the other day? He obviously wanted to change the subject, so I let him. So although James was smart enough to realise that our civilization was doomed, he simply couldn't admit it to himself. He had too many plans. His wife, his kids, travelling. Which I think is, a lot of people are in that category, babe.
Yeah, I agree.
So he goes on, "So I tried to forget about the end of the world and focus on enjoying our lunch. We had a nice time, but I left feeling frustrated and alone. I didn't become collapse aware all at once, a little bit like you, babe. It sort of took a... I must say, I had an epiphany when I read that essay. That was sort of... There were things in the back of my mind, but the way that Catherine just listed them all and wrote about it just crystallised everything. It was a process that began back in 2017, he says. Donald Trump had just become president and he kept calling climate change a hoax. Then, in the autumn, Hurricane Harvey came along and dumped more rain than any storm in US history. And for the next few years, I watched as climate disasters got worse and worse. Record-breaking storms, record-breaking droughts, record-breaking heat waves. It was so obvious that climate change was here, yet the voices denying it kept getting louder. Just listen to the Murdoch press. Then, in 2020, COVID-19 arrived. And I remember feeling horror and grief as one country after another began to report hundreds of deaths every day. But I also felt hopeful. After years of division, perhaps our nation would be brought together against a common enemy, the pandemic. Now, Alan is American. He resides in America. So he's talking about America when he talks about nations. "How wrong was I?" he continues. "Instead of uniting us, the pandemic divided us even further. I was baffled. For over a century, wearing masks and avoiding public gatherings were standard methods for dealing with a major outbreak. But now even these basic concepts were being called into question. And then in the summer of 2020, something occurred to me. If we can't even come together to fight COVID-19, how will we ever come together to fight climate change? I had always assumed that once the climate disasters got bad enough, we would get our act together and phase out fossil fuels. But all the evidence I'd seen over the previous 4 years suggested otherwise. So I started researching. I wanted to see how bad things were and how long before climate change started affecting our food system and infrastructure. Soon I came across an article by David Wallace Wells called The Uninhabitable Earth. They explain exactly what we're in for in the coming decades. And after I finished reading it, I felt sick. I finally understood that if we didn't stop climate change, it wouldn't just be inconvenient or bad for the economy, it would be completely destroy our civilization. And not in the distant future, but in my own lifetime. And for the first time, I wasn't just worried about climate change, I was scared. For days, I walked around with this nervous feeling, kind of like butterflies in my stomach, but more like hummingbirds. However, I kept telling myself that collapse wasn't inevitable. Technically, it was still possible to phase out fossil fuels in time to avert catastrophe. And maybe science would make some incredible clean energy breakthroughs. Technology will save us. I've heard that a lot too, babe. A lot of people base their hope on technology, which is sort of ironic because that's how we got here in the first place, really. This is how we arrived through technology. And that was my way of coping, Alan goes on. But it didn't work for long. A few months later, I came across a lecture by Sid Smith. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it, people. It's a great called How to Enjoy the End of the World. And it's one of the most fascinating lectures that I've ever heard, Alan says. Sid explained concepts like the cost of complexity, energy return on energy invested, and the Jevons paradox, which of course is the more technology we come up with, more energy, like green energy, the more
energy required.
Yeah, it doesn't cut down our energy use. It actually makes our energy use even more. He also talked about the decline of oil reserves, the depletion of minerals and water resources, and the exponential destruction of the natural world. And then he says something that really frightened me, Alan says. All of which would spell the end of civilization even without climate change, Sid said. I know that I said that becoming collapse aware is a process, but if I had to point to a single moment when he had his realisation, it would be when he heard Sid saying those words. Because there's so many things. Climate change is just one of the symptoms of ecological overshoot, people. And that night, lying in bed, Alan says, I cried, and not just for me, but for everyone I loved, especially my children. I felt like we had all been given a terminal diagnosis, and I was the only one who knew about it. And at first I didn't tell anybody. I was afraid they would think I was crazy. But bit by bit, I started testing the waters, like when I tried to talk to James about it at lunch. I found the same. People just don't want to know, particularly people with young kids. They don't want to know. A few months later, I went hiking with a friend named Aaron. He understood the dangers of climate change, so I thought he'd be receptive to this idea of collapse. And so I told him a little bit about what I'd learned, and he listened somberly. It's going to be a mess, he said, but hopefully Biden will turn things around. Yeah, hopefully, I said. Then I told him about a subreddit called Regarding Collapse and how it's full of people who think civilization is doomed. And he scoffed. Yeah, there are a lot of crazy Reddits out there, a lot of crazy websites. But I'm starting to think they're right, I said. He looked at me. Then you're spending too much time on the internet. And that's as far as I got with him. Aaron's convinced that all companies are spreading climate doom in order to make people feel helpless and give up trying to save the environment. And here's the thing, he's not wrong. Oil companies are spreading climate doom in hopes that we'll give up. That's why I always emphasise that even though it's too late to save civilization, it's not too late to save as much of the planet, the natural world, as we can. Every 1/10 of a degree of warming that we prevent will save millions of lives and countless species. I told him as much, but he didn't want to hear. A few months after that, the Pacific Northwest had one of the worst heat waves in history. Several towns broke their high temperature records. Over 1 billion sea creatures cooked to death. Climate scientists were shocked. Although they had done a great job forecasting the rise in average global temperatures, it seemed they'd been wrong about the impacts of rising temperatures. Yes, the exponential function is going way too fast. I've got to say, I really like when we're talking about people who, Sid Smith, or I like Bill Rees. If you go on YouTube, you can Google William Rees, Professor William Rees, who is one of the co-founders of the Ecological Footprint, our Ecological Footprint. And when I listened to him, after I'd read that essay, he was talking about the percentage of wild mammals, the ratio between wild mammals and humans. And like, a couple of thousand years ago, 10,000 years ago, at the agrarian, start of our agrarian revolution, wild mammals made up like 96% of all total mammal mass. And humans made up, I think, about 3 or something, and then domestic animals maybe 1%. Do you know what the percentage is now, babe?
No,
in 2025?
Completely flipped.
Humans make up about 30, I think 32 or something like that, the low 30s, 32% say of total mammal mass in the world. Wild animals make up about 4%.
Wow.
Or 5%. And the rest, of course, is all our domesticated cows, sheep, chickens, all our pigs, all those domesticated animals. Yeah, that's when I really thought, yeah. I mean, climate change is terrible what's happening in climate change, but geez, the natural world's dying. Ah, yes. All right, well, we need another song. Too much talking, babe. What are we going to have? Well, I think your what was it called? Lovely Day. Bill Withers. We need a little bit of upbeat music, babe. Is that why you chose it?
Just thought it's always nice to celebrate.
Always nice. Well, unfortunately, because it's music for the end of the world and we talk collapse, there is no good news. That's the point of it.
No, but you can still appreciate a
Oh,
nice
yes,
day
absolutely. You can still
enjoy the day as it is. Appreciate the simple things.
Yes, well, I'm going to
That's
get to
what
that a
the
little bit
song's
later
about.
in this article, yes. It actually sharpens your focus when you realise what our predicament is. It makes each day even better. So here's Bill Withers with Lovely Day.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eye, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seemed impossible to face, and when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. A lovely day.
My name is Nick Benson. I'm a registered tax agent and Xero certified advisor, and I've recently moved to the Bega Valley. If you're running a business or have a rental property, or if you just need help with your tax return, I can provide tax and bookkeeping services for you, and I can make sure you maximise your deductions. Individuals, sole traders and partnerships, and even multiple years are no problem. I can prepare tax returns back to 2014. You know, it's never too late to lodge your tax return. Call me on 0494 138 552. Find me on Facebook or the web by searching for NLB Tax. NLB Tax is proud to support your local community radio station, Edge FM.
Shakespeare asked, what's in a name? Well, in Bendigo Community Bank Panhandle and Biggest case, absolutely everything. As their name suggests, they're a community bank, setting them apart from the big city banks because they're owned by the community, run by the community, for the community. So every dollar they make makes it back into the community. Since opening, that totals a whopping $1 million and counting. That's a million good reasons to bank with Bendigo Community Bank Panhandle and Bega, and you don't need a 16th century playwright to tell you that.
Bendigo Bank is a proud sponsor of 93.7 Edge FM.
Yes, thank you, sponsors. And before that, that was Bill Withers with Lovely Day. And it's been a lovely day today, I must say, Cass. Very nice. Now, getting back to being collapse aware. And this article that I've been reading a little bit from by Alan Urban. He was explaining when he sort of had his epiphany of what's going on and how he's dealing with it. And he tried to talk to his brother, tried some friends. They all, technology will save us, or they can move the farms further north if it's too hot, or, they come up. Anything with it except to acknowledge it. But he goes on to say, however, there were several people I did convince, and in a way their reactions were even more disturbing. For example, I have another brother who patiently listens to everything I said and agreed that civilization will probably collapse in our lifetime. And yet, he doesn't want to talk about it. It's too depressing. Occasionally I send him an article or video about collapse, but he rarely replies. I can understand why. Talking about collapse can be very upsetting, so I think he'd rather focus on enjoying his life. I get that, I really do, but it's not the way that I deal with bad news. When I'm upset, I want to talk it out. And that's exactly what I told another friend of mine named Jen. I told her that if we're still alive in 20 or 30 years, we'll be living in conditions like some of the most lawless and impoverished places on earth today. And she didn't say anything. You think I'm crazy, don't you? I asked. No, I don't think you're crazy. It's just that. And she shrugged. There's nothing we can do, so why even talk about it? And that reaction is so strange to me. If a massive comet were headed towards Earth, like in the movie Don't Look Up, would everybody just carry on like nothing was happening? Like we weren't all going to die in a fiery death in the near future? And that's exactly how I feel too, Bab. I like to talk about it, And this thing, because once you realise it, once you realise the situation that we're in, it colours all your other choices that you make in life. Just like Just Collapse say, collapse is inevitable, but justice is not. There are still things that we can think about and do. Just like Alan goes on to say, becoming collapse aware has made me realise how unbelievably precious life is and how lucky I am to be alive. And that's exactly how I sort of feel. Just sitting in the sunshine in the garden, enjoying the butterflies. Every morning I sit on my porch, this is Alan, marvel at the majestic trees and watch as the sky changes colour. Every day I hug my kids, tell them I love them, treasure every moment we have together. And every evening I stand in my garden and watch the insects and bask in the beauty of the leaves and the flowers. I try to appreciate everything in my life, from the sound of my cat to a simple glass of water. I can't put into words what a miracle it is to be a tiny piece of the universe observing itself for an infinitesimal moment in deep time. But I can't pretend everything is okay either. I can't just go on with my life like I did before. I refuse to bury my head in the sand. I want to talk about what's happening. I want to come to terms with it. I want to warn people. And most of all, I want someone to hug me and say, yeah, I know, I'm scared too. And that's what I would love. That'd be to meet someone and talk about it and both of you go, yeah, I'm scared too. The last few years, Alan goes on to say, have been some of the loneliest years of my life, but I'm trying to change that. And there's lots of things, people, that we can do that, you know, you're having trouble coming to terms with it. There's Michael Dowd's post-doom discussions, and he focuses on moving from collapse awareness to collapse acceptance. And then the idea is that if you trust reality and embrace your mortality, you can live a life of awe and gratitude, even in the face of collapse. And then, of course, try and search out more collapse-aware people in your neighbourhood or closer to home, which is challenging given that most people don't advertise their belief at all that we're all doomed. There's not many people going around doing that. Like Alan goes on to say, a lot of people say you're crazy. So if you feel alone or misunderstood because of what you know about the future, don't despair. Be patient. Keep looking for like-minded people, online or in person. And there are many groups online, near-term human extinction, collapse awareness. There's a whole bunch of different social groups online. But yeah, it is lonely. I found it, I don't feel as lonely now, I think, because I've sort of met a few people who think like me more than before. There was no one, or maybe there was one person, Brendan, and that was it. So I know a few more now. But how about you? What's your experience?
Well, I think it's the same as you described, is that most people don't want to talk about.
No.
Even though, of course, people are aware of it. People can see what's happening with the climate. People, if you look at it logically, you know that we cannot keep consuming, that we do not have infinite resources. And I think it's just harder because people tend to go, well, I'll just keeping on doing what I'm doing, and yes, I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to accept it. And so people don't want to engage in that conversation. But as you said, I mean, if people did talk about it, because it doesn't, it changes your life in the sense that suddenly you can look at your priorities, you can sort of be open, you can make more realistic plans or informed plans about what you want to be doing with your life at that time.
On an individual level, as a society, if we only had that as a society, like Just Collapse going about, you know, the zeitgeist, if only that was happening, you know, then lots of things come into play. Like you think, well, okay, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, that's right. People would
For example, billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, wealth inequality. That's ridiculous.
But people would look at the importance of, look at the important things like water, and look at food, food production and all those things, and be thinking, okay, well, how can you be more sustainable? How can you have a better, more secure life? How can you sort of bond with your community and have support and look after each other? That's what people would do. So it would be a good thing if people had those discussions. But I also do understand it's a tricky one when people are navigating their way who go, yes, I acknowledge and I'm aware of all those things, but it's easier to just
yes, for a lot of people it is. It's easier to stick your head in the sand. That's right. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show. We've still got to play a couple more songs, and of course, every week we always play the Gimmies. And this week it's a little bit like in your theme of Bill Withers, except it's not a lovely day. It's Ain't No Sunshine. Here are the Gimmies.
Sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Wonder this time where she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away. I know
The gimmies. They always bring me up, the gimmies, I got to say. Ain't No Sunshine. 1.5 minutes. Perfect length for a song. You've been listening to Music for the End of the World. I'm Chris, and I'm being joined tonight by Cass, and we're on 93.7 Edge FM every Wednesday night, 7 till 8. Before we go, I've got one more song to play. We've been talking about the loneliness of being collapse aware. But I think the more you talk about it, and that's why we have the radio show really, just to talk about it, to get the word out there so people know they're not alone, I suppose, trying to combat that. That's the philosophy of Music for the End of the World. And in the coming weeks, hopefully, I've got some guests lined up. We'll see. Some of them are a little bit media shy. We'll see how we go. And as I say every week, just like Just Collapse down in Tasmania, if you don't know who they are, Google them, look them up. They're terrific. Collapse is inevitable, but justice is not, people. No use sticking our heads in the sand. There's still things we can do. So I will leave you with that. And I think I will leave you with, well, in my opinion, babe, it is one of the greatest modern contemporary pop / rock, whatever, songs written, I think. This guy's a genius.
Who's that?
And he had issues as well. Dennis Wilson. And it is by the Beach Boys, of course. And it is God Only Knows. Just the structure of the song is just fantastic. It's, it's genius. So good night, people. Take care. Keep building those community relationships. And we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.
Always love you, but long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave me, well, life would still go on. Believe me, the world could show nothing to me. So what good would living do me? God only knows what I'd be without you. Leave me, the life would still go on, believe me. The world could show nothing to me. So what good would living do me? God only knows what I'd be without.